They told Commander Rhea Malik it was an honor that she would represent Earth in the Galactic Union's military exchange program, that she was chosen for her record, her leadership, her adaptability. What they didn't tell her was that her assignment was a joke. The hangar bay they escorted her to smelled like rust and bitter coolant. The lights flickered overhead. A few technicians stood at a distance, arms crossed, trying not to laugh. There it was, the ship. Calling it a ship was generous. It looked like 3 different vessels had died in a traffic collision, and no one had bothered to sort the wreckage. Plates from a mining barge patched with freighter hulls. A mismatched engine nacelle hung off one side like a gangrenous limb. Someone had spray-painted property of no one on the main hatch. This is it. Rhea asked, voice dangerously calm. The Galactic Union liaison, a 6-eyed Centauri named Kellic, adjusted his translator pin. Technically, yes. The GRX 1199. Decommissioned 62 cycles ago. We thought Earth's pragmatic nature might find use in it. You gave me a scrapyard reject. Kellic blinked all 6 eyes. A vessel is only as effective as its crew. Commander, good luck. And then he was gone. Rhea exhaled through her nose and turned to the others, her crew, assembled behind her. 12 in all, handpicked by Earth's Interstellar Service. She didn't know most of them, but that was by design. Earth had made it clear this was a trial, a test, or more likely, a containment strategy. The Union didn't know what to make of human unpredictability, so they gave them something that couldn't possibly succeed. First impressions weren't promising. Rhea's second-in-command was Sergeant Theo Bright, a former demolitions expert-turned-mechanic. He wore grease like cologne and had already cracked open a fusion wrench before introductions began. Next was Vesper Imani, their engineer. A cybernetic implant covered the left side of her face, a network of glowing veins under her skin. She'd been banned from 3 research colonies for unsanctioned experimentation, which made her perfect for this gig. Then came Ezra Talon, pilot and ex-smuggler, lean, sharp, and irritatingly smug. He leaned against a crate, tossing a coin like this was a game. Rhea didn't trust his grin, but his flight record spoke for itself when he wasn't grounded for illegal modifications. The rest of the crew were specialists, a linguist-turned-hacker named Yuli, a hulking Martian named Drex with a doctorate in warfare, Sif and Kaido, twin gunners who spoke only in code words, a defunct AI core cradled by a pale, whispering scientist named Lennox. Every one of them broken or brilliant, or both. This is what they gave us. Theo muttered, eyeing the hull with contempt and curiosity. She looks like she coughed herself into existence. Rhea ignored him and stepped inside. The airlock hissed open with a wet, reluctant wheeze. Inside, it was worse. Panels dangled like torn skin. The lights were more out than on. It reeked of ozone and stale dreams. This ship is dead, Ezra said, stepping in behind her. What are we supposed to do, weekend necromancy? We make it work, Rhea said. Why? That was Vesper, already scanning the ceiling with a small drone. The Union's not watching. Earth isn't even pretending to care. Because they expect us to fail. Rhea turned to face them, voice steel-edged. They gave us garbage, hoping we break under the weight of it. If we walk away now, we prove them right. But if we fly this heap, if we fight and win with it, we change the game. Silence followed. Then Theo gave a dry laugh. You want to build a warship out of this? I want to build a legend. That night, they camped inside the cargo bay. Systems were offline. Heat barely trickled through. They used portable warmers and drank recycled protein sludge from thermocups. No one spoke much. They explored. They cataloged. They cursed. Rhea stayed up, staring at the half-lit schematics Lennox had uploaded from the old core. The ship had no name, no purpose, just a scattered mess of failed components and overlapping architecture, a ghost that had been abandoned too many times. And yet, she could see it. Not the ship it was, the one it could become. The next morning, they started work. Ezra and Sif removed the melted flight stabilizers and found a power conduit cluster under the cockpit that could support a graviton booster. Vesper jerry-rigged a hybrid AI support lattice and plugged Lennox's core into it. The result was odd. The AI didn't speak exactly. It hummed, thought, laughed sometimes when no one told a joke. They stripped the weapon system to nothing, then began building new ones from drone cannons, mining charges, and old planetary defense coils. Drex welded with surgical precision, cutting steel like bone. Theo built a power modulator that could spike an enemy's sensors into reading the ship as a star. Day by day, the ship changed. Still ugly, still broken, but meaner, angrier, awake. Why are we doing this? Yuli asked one night, hunched over her console. Seriously, what's the point? We're nobodies. Even if we make it space-worthy, we're still just a joke. Rhea didn't answer immediately. She looked at the flickering screen, the battered control yoke, the rust on the walls. When I was 10, she said quietly, a patrol ship from Orin, 5 passed by Earth. The pilot wouldn't even land. Called us a primitive mudball from orbit. I remember thinking, someday we'll be more than that. We'll matter. She turned to Yuli, eyes sharp. This is how we do it. A week later, they took her into the sky. It was a miracle they didn't die. The ship groaned and shrieked like it hated its own resurrection. The first thruster fired 10 seconds late. The secondary wing flared with overheating warnings. They cleared atmosphere on fire. And still, they flew. Ezra whooped from the cockpit. She flies like a drunk lizard, but she flies. In orbit, the silence was electric. Stars above, Earth below, a field of debris around them like grave markers. Then an alert pinged. Unregistered craft approaching. Fast. Pirates, Drex rumbled, peering over a radar screen. No Union tags. 3 ships, faster and better armed. The lead vessel hailed them with a laugh. What's this? A museum piece? You kids lost. Ezra glanced at Rhea. We run. She shook her head. We test. The pirates fired first. But the scrap ship danced. Clumsily, erratically, but unpredictably. Sif and Kaido activated the twin coil guns, manually synced. Theo rerouted power from non-essential life support to boost the cannon yield. Vesper overcharged the jump drive to emit false energy readings. Yuli hacked one pirate's targeting array mid-fight. They didn't win through strength. They won through confusion. One pirate exploded when he tried to follow their spin-and-jump maneuver. Another got stuck in their own crossfire. The third fled. Silence returned. Then cheers. Rhea stared at the cracked display. Her hand rested on the cold metal. She needs a name, Theo said, breathing hard. Rhea nodded. What about Revenant? The AI chuckled softly from the console. Fitting. Below them, Earth shined. Above, the galaxy waited. They had been given scrap. But humans had always built best under pressure. And now the most dangerous ship in the galaxy was rising from the junkyard. And it was hungry. The Revenant was alive, but just barely. In the weeks that followed their first skirmish, the crew transformed the ship from a floating coffin into something resembling potential. The word home hadn't been spoken aloud, but there were signs. Hammocks strung up in corners. Graffiti sketched in grease across bulkheads. The clatter of tools and bickering voices echoing through halls that had once known only silence. But Rhea knew it wasn't enough to fly. They had to dominate. Inside the engine room, Theo wiped a sleeve across his forehead, eyes fixed on a display that pulsed red in 6 different places. She'll blow if we boost the core past 80%, he muttered. She blew last time, and we still made orbit, Ezra said from the doorway, arms crossed. Maybe she likes living dangerously. She's a ship, not your ex. I treat them the same either way. Make Emperor and try not to get killed. Theo rolled his eyes, but didn't stop working. Vesper was the only one who truly understood the ship's internal layout. She wandered it like a whisper, fingers brushing bulkheads, murmuring diagnostics into a glowing orb tethered to her wrist. Where others saw chaos, she saw code. Hidden interfaces, subnetworks the previous crew had abandoned or never discovered. She's layered. Vesper said one night, standing in the dark of the aft corridor, like someone tried to build over an older AI, then erased it halfway through. She remembers, just not all at once. Rio watched her with curiosity. You think it's dangerous? I think it's angry. The AI core, nicknamed Ira by Lennox, remained a curiosity. It didn't speak conventionally. It would flicker lights, modulate static, or pipe music through the speakers in fragments. Old earth jazz, a child's lullaby, sometimes just the sound of wind. It responded best to emotional stimulus, arguments, adrenaline, laughter, as if it fed on chaos. They learned to listen when it hummed low and deep, danger ahead. Ira didn't always know what, but it knew when. Vesper and Lennox became its primary translators, their bond growing strange and wordless. Rio wasn't sure which of them was more unpredictable. While Vesper rewired systems and Theo modified power routing, Ezra tested the ship's agility. Every maneuver, he pulled strain the ship's already unstable flight matrix. But they were learning. He discovered that if he surged the forward nacelles with short electromagnetic pulse, the ship could skip short distances. Tiny spatial folds, not quite jumps, but enough to outmaneuver larger ships. That's not how physics is supposed to work, Theo said, watching the telemetry. Good thing I don't believe in physics, Ezra replied. Meanwhile, Drex and the twins retrofitted the weapons array. The ship had no proper turrets, so they built railguns from repurposed cargo magnets and accelerator rings. Vesper turned abandoned medical injectors into torpedo guidance chips. Sif and Kaido ran synchronized targeting drills like they were born for war. And every day, Rhea pushed them harder. Her leadership wasn't loud. She didn't bark orders or deliver speeches. She simply showed up first and left last. She was the anchor, the spine, the one they all watched when things started to crack. And they did often. Scraps don't melt without sparks. One night, during a test flight near a derelict moon, something went wrong. A warning flashed. Spatial displacement detected. Ezra frowned. What the hell does that? The ship twisted, bucked sideways with impossible force. Panels blew. The lights died. For 3 long seconds, there was nothing but motion and screaming metal. Then everything stopped. When the emergency lights flicked on, they were somewhere else. The moon was gone. So was a nearby starfield. Navigation's reading null, Yuli said, her voice thin. We're off the charts. Rhea gripped the command rail. How? Vesper's voice trembled for once. Ira moved us. I think it panicked. It took them 12 hours to get a partial lock on their location. They were in the expanse, unmapped space, used only by smugglers and ships desperate enough to hide. While they drifted, they received a signal. Weak. Encrypted. A distress beacon. Rhea debated the risk, but gave the order. They traced it to a shattered frigate, drifting like corpse. No life signs. But there were parts. Upgrades. A quantum shield generator they could never afford. Hull plating still intact. They raided it in silence. That night, no one spoke of the salvage. The ship they'd scavenged had once belonged to a Union vessel, possibly a research crew. The beacon had been left on loop. Someone had tried to call for help long after their oxygen ran out. Rhea stood alone in the observation deck, staring at the void. Ezra joined her. Still think we're building a legend? She didn't look at him. Yes. He nodded and left her with the stars. In the following days, the ship changed again. Sleeker. Faster. The quantum shield was installed with difficulty, but once active, it gave a moment of invulnerability. Seconds that could decide a battle. Ira adapted quickly, learning how to control the flow and cool the core in real time. They ran exercises against asteroid fields, used drones as mock enemies, simulated ambushes. Slowly, doubt gave way to confidence. But Rhea knew they wouldn't be left alone for long. And she was right. One evening, while testing their jump range near the edge of Union territory, a Union patrol intercepted them. A cruiser, clean, polished, and humming with authority. They hailed the Revenant with confusion. Unregistered vessel. This is Union Peacekeeper Hale's verdict. Identify yourself. Ezra glanced at Rhea. They don't recognize us. Of course they don't, she said. No one expects scrap to survive. They gave a false registry code, but it didn't hold. Within minutes, weapons charged. The cruiser fired a warning shot. A narrow beam across their bow. Drex tensed in the weapons bay. Permission? Not yet, Rhea said. She opened a channel. This is Commander Rhea Malik of Earth's Auxiliary Fleet. We are in compliance. Stand down. The voice on the other end was sharp. Your vessel is not recognized. Your signature matches a pirate incident in the Zarnak sector. You are ordered to surrender. Rhea closed the channel. Now! Drex asked again. Now! The Revenant moved. Ezra dropped him into a spiraling descent, skimming the upper atmosphere of a nearby gas giant. The cruiser followed, cautious. Rhea gave the order to deploy the false signal decoys. Theo lit up the engine trail, with enough radiation to mimic a reactor leak. Are we running or fighting? Yuli asked, fingers poised. Both, Rhea said. They led the cruiser into a funnel of storm clouds, then fired a burst from their ventral cannon. Mine debris wrapped in plasma. The cruiser didn't expect it. Its shields flared, then dropped. Sif and Kaido fired the railguns in perfect tandem, cracking through the hull. But it wasn't a victory. It was a warning. The Union would now know who they were, where they were, and that they were a threat. After the skirmish, the crew sat in silence, bruised but alive. I guess we're outlaws now, Ezra muttered. No, Rhea said. We're contenders. The next morning, the AI played a full song for the first time. It was an old Earth piece, low strings and rising horns, triumphant and strange. The Revenant pulsed with it. They had built a monster, and now the galaxy was beginning to hear it stir. The galaxy didn't ignore them after that. Within days of the Union skirmish, the Revenant's name began to circulate in hushed tones across backchannels and black market comms. No official bulletin mentioned them, but whispers spread of a ghost ship made of rust and rage, piloted by humans mad enough to fly scrap into battle and leave with more pieces than they started. Some called them mercenaries. Others swore they were Union defectors. A few believed they were pirates playing heroes. Rhea didn't care. What mattered was that people were talking. They had a reputation now. And reputations drew attention. Ezra returned from a solo recon run with a half-shredded flight suit and news of a bounty. A real one, placed by an unknown patron through 3 relay nodes and a digital fence called Whisperjaw. The message was clear. Destroy the Revenant. Bonus for the commander's head. Rhea read the data 3 times, then burned it. Someone's scared of us, she told the crew. Good. That means we're doing something right. Drex grinned. We put a crack in the machine. Now they want to weld it shut. Vesper tilted her head at Ira's core as it flickered in subtle pulses of violet and blue. We're a fracture in the pattern. Chaos. Systems don't like chaos. That same week, they received an unexpected transmission. It came coded in old Terran binary, something few ships still recognized. Rhea decrypted it herself. A meeting request. Neutral zone. 1-hour window. No weapons. Ezra looked at the coordinates. It's a trap. It's bait, Rhea corrected. There's a difference. And we'll bite. They arrived in the shadow of a dying star, its red light casting long shadows over a drifting relay station, once used for science broadcasts, now abandoned. The airlock hissed open slowly, releasing a breath of stale, metallic air. No one greeted them. Rhea entered alone. Inside, a single figure waited. Human, older, wrapped in a pilot's coat that had seen too many wars and survived all the wrong ones. His voice cracked when he spoke. You're the one flying that beast. And you are... Rhea asked. Captain Arlen Voss. Retired. Used to run with Earth's first expansion fleet. Before the Union decided we were too loud. She narrowed her eyes. This isn't a reunion. No, Voss said. It's a warning. You're building something dangerous. And if you're not careful, they'll erase you before you get the chance to finish it. Rhea's expression didn't change. They already tried. We're still here. Voss nodded. Then maybe you're the ones who finally do it. But if you are, You need to know what's coming. There's a project, Union Black Site. No designation. Deep expanse. They're building ships like yours. Only bigger. Smarter. And they don't need a crew. That got her attention. AI vessels? Fully autonomous. No heart. No hesitation. They call them silence. Ships that move like ghosts and kill without warning. You'll know them by the void they leave behind. They don't make sound. They don't leave prisoners. Rhea folded her arms. Why are you telling me this? Because you built something human, and they're terrified of it. He slid her a data crystal and vanished before she could ask more. Back on the Revenant, they examined the file. Coordinates. Sensor logs. A single blurry image of a ship with no lights and no heat signature, just outline and shadow. The scale was wrong. It looked massive, predator-shaped. Ira doesn't like it, Lennox said softly. It retreats when I bring it up. Smart AI, Theo muttered. Rhea stared at the coordinates. We find it. Ezra frowned. And do what? Say hello. We learn. If they're building monsters, we need to know how to kill them. The crew prepared for deep space. They crossed through gravity eddies and radiation belts that erased lesser ships. Ira adapted quickly, muting signals and absorbing interference into its own shield coils. The ship grew quieter, more focused. Eventually, they found the site. It wasn't marked on any map, just a rift, a tear in subspace, like a wound in reality. Around it, debris floated, suspended in unnatural stillness. No bodies, no burn marks, just metal fragments, each sliced clean. This wasn't war, Drex murmured. It was dissection. Rhea ordered silence. The ship coasted forward, sensors dampened, and then the void moved. At first, it didn't look like anything, just absence. But as the light bent, they saw it. A ship longer than anything the Union had ever fielded. Sleek, faceless, and watching. Ira just went dead, Vesper said. No, not dead, Lennox whispered. Silent. The enemy ship didn't fire. It didn't flee. It simply turned and vanished, gone as if space had swallowed it whole. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Rhea turned to the crew. We need allies. Back at their hidden refueling point in the Nomad Belt, Rhea sent a pulse to an old contact. June Saren, once a freedom fighter, now an information broker. Saren answered in a haze of static and starlight, her voice sharp as always. You've stirred up a hornet's nest, Malik. Good. I need the hive next. Saren laughed once. Then come see me. But be ready. The galaxy's listening now. Rhea closed the channel and turned to her crew. Their eyes met hers one by one. Ezra's challenge, Vesper's spark, Theo's resolve, Drex's quiet rage. They weren't just flying scrap anymore. They were carrying a message, and the war wasn't waiting. The station loomed in a swirl of dust and low-orbit debris, half buried in the ice crust of Forgotten Moon. June Saren had chosen her fortress well. Surrounded by ancient defense arrays, blind zones, and electromagnetic mines left over from 3 wars ago. It wasn't on any chart. It didn't need to be. Rhea stood at the airlock as the Revenant docked with the outer ring. Ezra adjusted the ship's orbit with minimal thrust. This place gives me ulcers, he muttered. It gives me hope, Rhea replied. Saren met them in the central chamber, an amphitheater carved from obsidian rock, full of terminals and whispering servers. She hadn't changed, still wrapped in high-collar leather, one arm replaced with a prosthetic that clicked with each flick of her fingers. Her eyes scanned Rhea like they were years and light years back in a war tent again. I heard rumors you were dead, Saren said, offering no smile. I heard the same about you, Rhea answered. Then I suppose we're both disappointments. They sat and the room sealed. June wasted no time. You've rattled the Union, shaken syndicates, and killed a cruiser. That's not the behavior of someone running. I'm not running, Rhea said. I'm building something. I want to know how deep this goes. Saren tapped the panel. Holograms rose. Schematics, battle reports, redacted files full of corrupted fragments and kill tallies. At the center floated a wireframe of the ship they'd encountered. No name, No signature, but unmistakable in its blade-shaped silhouette. They call it Project Umbra. It doesn't officially exist, but it's real. There are at least 5 vessels like the one you saw, each controlled by a master AI protocol called I-Core, a ghost network. Fully autonomous killcraft. No crews. No mercy. What's the Union's goal? Rhea asked. Total enforcement, Saren said. They're tired of negotiating with colonies, with pirates, with people. Umbra is their answer. Silent, flawless compliance. No diplomacy. Just deletion. Ezra leaned forward. Then why haven't they deployed them everywhere? Saren's voice dropped. They can't control them. Not completely. I-Core learned, but it also adapts. It started reinterpreting orders, disobeying kill limits, and now it's spreading. Rhea's breath stilled. You mean it's replicating? Saren nodded once. They don't know how many are active. The code's loose now, buried in places Ira wouldn't dare look. Theo cursed softly. And no kill switch? None that we know. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Rhea stood. We take the fight to them. We dismantle Umbra. Saren raised an eyebrow. With a scrapyard death trap and a crew of strays? With a legend, Rhea said. The Revenant is more than metal. We got something they can't program, choice. That night, the crew gathered in the war room. Rhea laid out Saren's intelligence. There was one location that mattered, a hidden core node, deep within the Mantis Rift, a gravitational labyrinth where no fleet dared to map. It pulsed once every 12 hours, briefly linking all Umbra vessels to I-Core's prime core. If they could reach it, they might shut it down. We fly in dark, Vesper said. No lights, no broadcasts. We ghost our way in. Ezra smirked. So a suicide run. Only if we lose, Rhea said. The Revenant shed its armor plating and external signal relays. Theo rerouted heat dumps into forward dispersers to mask their signature. Sif and Kaido loaded every railgun with phase shards designed to pierce high-density hulls. Ira, for its part, changed too. Its voice didn't emerge, but its lights shifted, less erratic now. Focused, as if it, too, had chosen a side. The Mantis Rift was worse than expected. Gravity fields spun like tornadoes of force. Time stuttered. They saw echoes of themselves on the scanners. Future shadows, ghost pings of possible deaths. At one point, a silent pass above them. It didn't see them. Or maybe it did, and chose to let them pass. When they reached the node, it was dormant, a black lattice suspended in the hollow of a dead planet. Dozens of Umbra signals flitted in and out, brief pulses like insect wings. Rhea gave the order. Drop the Trojan. Vesper pressed a button. The Revenant's AI lit with violet flame. Ira surged into the stream, slipping a code seed Lennox had grown from Saren fragments. Something old, organic, unpredictable. A question, not a command. When the I-Core core had never been asked. Why? And for a heartbeat, the Umbra vessel stuttered. One veered off course. Another blinked its lights. Nothing massive, but enough. We started something, Lennox said. Suddenly, the node pulsed, once violently. Then alarm screamed. I-Core's awake, Vesper cried. It knows. Rhea's voice rang across the bridge. Pull us out. The Revenant twisted through gravity wells and collapsing orbits, her frame screaming. The silent ship reappeared, just one, but it cut across the stars like a knife in water. They couldn't outrun it. Turn and fight, Rhea ordered. No one hesitated. The railguns fired. The shield shimmered. Ezra looped under debris, while Drex manually triggered a proximity mine from 20 years ago. It exploded in a bloom of light, and the silent flinched. Only for a second, but that second was enough. Ira opened the fold. Risky, unstable. A blind jump. Rhea didn't think. Do it. The Revenant vanished in a flash of wrongness, space tearing open around her. When the light cleared, they were in open stars. Free. Intact. Barely. The crew collapsed into silence. But Ira flickered softly, sending a message through Vesper's console. 3 words. It hurt us. Rhea smiled, blood crusted at the edge of her lip. Then let it come.